Today, we are talking about a book that has touched millions of lives all over the world, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It's one of those modern classics, a really simple but incredibly deep story about what it means to follow your dream. But here's the crazy part. This book, this international bestseller that people like Will Smith and Madonna have raved about, was a complete flop when it first came out. I mean, a total failure. In its first week, exactly one person bought a copy. It's a story about finding a treasure that almost stayed buried forever. And at the very core of this story is this one single powerful idea. This is the promise the book makes, right? It's this philosophy that has hooked readers for decades, this idea of an invisible force that helps our hero along his path. Okay, so let's meet this hero. Our story kicks off in the beautiful fields of Andalusia, Spain, with a young shepherd boy named Santiago. Now, Santiago chose the life of a shepherd for a very specific reason. He wanted to travel and see the world. And his life is pretty simple. His sheep are his buddies, his jacket keeps him warm, and a good book, well, that's both his entertainment and his pillow. He's happy, or at least he thinks he is. Because there's this dream he keeps having. 2 nights in a row, the exact same one. A child appears, starts playing with his sheep, and then, poof, magically transports him to the Great Pyramids in Egypt. And there, the child tells him, if you come here, you're going to find a hidden treasure. But every single time, right before the kid can show him what it is, he wakes up. Now, this is where it gets really fascinating. Santiago's quest for this hidden treasure is a perfect mirror for what the author, Paulo Coelho, was going through himself. He was basically living out his own version of The Alchemist. So the book's launch, back in Brazil, it was a catastrophe. After a year of pretty much zero sales, his publisher just dropped him. They completely gave up on the book. By any measure, it was a total bust. And Coelho was 41 years old, and as he put it, he was desperate. And this just lays out the parallels so clearly, doesn't it? You have Santiago, who's dreaming of this physical treasure buried somewhere in the desert. And then you have Coelho, who's dreaming of sharing his treasure, this very story, with everyone. Both of them were on a journey that was just filled with setbacks, where it looked like there was no way they'd ever succeed. So why didn't he just give up? Well, for Coelho, this wasn't just another project. He said he was living his own metaphor. The story of a guy who travels the world looking for treasure only to find it back where he started, that was his story. His treasure was his gift for writing, and he just refused to let that treasure stay buried. All right, back to our story. Santiago is at this major crossroads, totally unsure about what to do with this dream. And, just like in all the great fables, a mentor shows up right on cue. He meets this mysterious old man who says his name is Melchizedek, the King of Salem. This king introduces Santiago to the first big idea in the book, the personal legend. He explains that when we're young, we all know what our mission on Earth is. We're not afraid to dream big. But as we get older, he says, some mysterious force starts to convince us that it's impossible. And that mysterious force is built on what the king calls the world's greatest lie. And it's this feeling that at some point we lose control, that our lives are just run by fate. It's the belief that our dreams are out of our hands and we're just along for the ride. And the king's first lesson is simple. You have to reject that lie. So he gives Santiago some really important advice. He tells him to pay attention to the omens, the signs that God leaves for him. He warns him that everything has a cost. And he tells him this great little story about a boy who has to carry a spoon with 2 drops of oil through a beautiful palace. The secret to happiness, he says, is to see all the marvels of the world, but to never, ever forget the oil in your spoon, your purpose, your personal legend. So, armed with all this new wisdom, Santiago makes a choice that's going to change his life forever. He is about to step past the point of no return. He sells his entire flock of sheep. Think about that. He is literally selling his entire life, everything he knows. And with that money, he buys a ticket to Tangier, leaving his home continent behind. He has officially started his quest. But remember that big idea from the beginning, that when you want something, the universe conspires to help you? Well, sometimes that help looks a whole lot like a disaster, because the second Santiago arrives in Africa, everything goes wrong. He's in a bar in Tangier, can't speak a word of the language, and he meets this seemingly friendly guy who speaks Spanish. Santiago trusts him. He gives him all his money, everything from selling his sheep, to buy some camels. And while Santiago is distracted by a beautiful sword in the market, his new friend disappears, along with all his money. So what now? This is his absolute lowest point. He's alone in a foreign country with no money. He can't even afford a ticket home. And right here, he has a choice to make. Is he a poor victim who got robbed, or is he an adventurer who just hit a major obstacle? He reaches into his little pouch and feels the only things he has left. 2 stones the old king gave him, Urim and Thummim, and they remind him of the promise he made to follow his path and make his own decisions. And in that moment, he decides. I'm an adventurer, he tells himself, looking for treasure. He chooses to keep going. And that one decision leads him to a crystal merchant's shop, where he offers to clean glasses in exchange for some food. His plan is just to work long enough to get the money to go home. But of course, his journey takes another totally unexpected turn. The crystal merchant, who's a pretty cautious but kind man, he introduces Santiago to a new idea, Maktub. It's this concept that some things are destined, or as he says, it is written. Now, this isn't about being a victim of fate. It's more about understanding that our lives are part of some grander design and we all have a role to play. And this merchant is the perfect opposite of Santiago. See, he has a dream too. His whole life, he's wanted to make the pilgrimage to Mecca. But he's too scared. He tells Santiago that the idea of Mecca is what keeps him going, and he's afraid of what would happen if he actually did it. He's the guy who's just too comfortable to really chase his personal legend. Santiago, though, he just thrives. He brings all these new ideas to the shop, he helps the business boom, and after about a year, he's a huge success. He's learned the language, he's learned the crystal business inside and out, and he's saved a small fortune. He now has more than enough money to go back to Spain and buy a flock twice as big as his old one. And so, here it is, the final choice. The safe path home, a comfortable, successful life that he has already earned, or the dangerous, unknown path into the vast desert, chasing a treasure that might not even exist. And this really brings us to the core question of the whole book. Is the treasure the thing you find at the end, or is the real prize the person you become on the journey to get there?